We are live. Yes, as far as I'm aware, we are live. Let's just check. Are we? Are we? Can people hear us? Tell me if we can. Let's see. You can comment. You can do whatever you like, and you can tell me. Hopefully, someone will imminently. Yes, I have confirmation. We are live. That is good. Whew. We had some dangerous moments then, but we got there. We've got there. Yes, hello, welcome to this panel discussion on British theatre and the clown. And we're going to have a wonderful conversation with these lovely people. I am Nathan Keats. I am a PhD student at the University of Kent, but I also do lots of work around clown, improv, etc., and theatre in general. As if you're on this channel, you may know or you may not. Who knows? Yes. So I presented this topic to the School of Arts at the university, and they seemed interested enough and to let me go ahead and do it essentially with their backing. Yeah, and I feel very privileged to have everyone here. I believe I made everyone aware that I'd ask them to introduce themselves because I'm sure they have much clear and apparent things to say about themselves than I might necessarily. So let's just go around and introduce yourselves as well. You can say whatever you wish to. Let's start with Aitor.
Brilliant. I was expecting for somebody else to get introduced before, so I will know what do I have to say, but I just go for it. So my name is Aitor Basauri, and I am one of the artistic directors or members of the Spy Monkey, who is a comedy troupe, a theater comedy troupe clown. Difficult to define, but we do funny theater. We've been doing funny theater for 20 years. We met in Switzerland working with an outdoor theater company called Karlskrona Gassenschau in 1996. And we had a very good time working together. So we said, let's make some funny material together if we can. And in 1998, we did a show. We created a show with Cal McChrystal called Steve, and we took it to Edinburgh in the year 2000, and it went quite well. And we have stayed together ever since, doing shows, and we worked for a while, for 2 years, for the now bankrupt company called Cirque du Soleil. Who today have to fire 3,500 people, and in Las Vegas for 2 years. And we keep doing shows, and the pandemic had found us doing some workshops and getting ready to create our new show that we hope has something to do with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. We thought of this before the pandemic, but now it seems more relevant than ever before. And the other members of the company are Toby Park and Petra Massi. Petra is in Vegas at the moment starring in a show for the Spiegel World. And Stefan Kreis, who lives in Vienna. We are what you call an international company because we are members from different nations, and in the time that we are now, it's important for me at least to remind everybody that the world is a big world, and we like to make people laugh. That's sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't succeed at all, but we try.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And if we just go around alphabetically, we'll go to Dan, and you can say what you wish to about yourself.
Okay, hi, hello. My name is Dan, as has already been established, and I co-founded I've got a theatre company with another guy called Neil Frost called Mad Etiquette, and we make clown theatre. And we're in a double act called The Establishment. We've been going for about 6 years doing that. I co-founded the London Clown Festival 4 years ago, which is a fairly new festival of low, sort of small-scale clown theatre and comedy. I work a lot with Clowns Without Borders. Most recently, I was in Jordan teaching some circus clowns, Syrian circus clowns who want to be the first Syrian circus school. And that's me.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And now next we'll go to Peter.
Hello, I'm Peta Lily. I am a Oh, yes, did you say something? No? No? Good. Okay. I'm a performer, and I was born in Australia, but I was able to make a career, came over here to the UK, and studied mime, which was a way to actually make work and start touring around fringe circuits, and we toured to Europe as well. So that was a brilliant thing, coming as an Australian person trying to get acting jobs, and it just wasn't working. But this wonderful joy of, we were kind of working sometimes in clown, but without ever having studied. These were very early days. This is the 80s. And then I went solo because I wanted to create theatre that was a mixture of dance and mime and theatre and acting. And I've just kept experimenting, and I've always loved laughter and comedy. And my parents used to take us as very small children to vaudeville in Brisbane, Australia, my hometown, and that left an indelible mark, as did listening to comedy records, people like Victor Borger and so forth. Anyway, physical theatre, I guess, is what you would call me now, and I do a lot. I'm a clown practitioner. I do an awful lot of teaching of clown. I was interviewed by John Towson. He kind of did a selection of interviews a year or so ago, and I called myself a clown hybrid because it's not pure clowning. I would mix it. Different shows would be mixed in different ways. I worked with Claire Dowie, who, together with Colin Watkins, invented something called stand-up theatre, so performing with very few props and no fourth wall, loving the no fourth wall. So my most recent shows that I created were talking to the audience with poetry or with movement or bits and pieces of clowning. And since the 1980s, I've developed something that I teach under the heading of dark clown. Dark clown, many people might have their own idea of what dark clown is. This was just a term I plucked out of the air, but it's now become a succinct genre, really. I was told to say that. I was trying to apply for a PhD a couple of years back. I didn't get. I was trying to apply for a fee-free place, and I didn't get it. But they said, "Oh no, you need to call this a genre." So there's this new genre called dark clown, and I find that very exciting. I think that's enough about me.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. We'll move now to Vivian.
I'm Vivian. Most of my clowning comes from I lived in France for 25 years. I started clowning in 78, and it was hard until I was asked to teach it. So then I created a company called Nose to Nose, and my fascination is with teaching work, and I'm spending a lot of time thinking about how to teach work. And so what I'm really interested in is how to give anybody who wants to have a go access the clown archetype, basically. And you don't necessarily have to be a professional. It's just I talk to lots of different people, doctors and therapists, and who join and find it useful. It applies also to the work. So, and I've now moved back to England, so I'm now south of London, and lockdown has been a very strange business. So for the first time, about 6 months out of there, we've just experimented with online teaching, and it's very strange and also completely fascinating. So that's it. That's me.
Thank you. Thank you. You were a little roboty there, but I think people that watching can hear you better than I can. So let's just point that one out. Yes, brilliant. Thank you for being on the panel. Let's start with a very broad and maybe vague question. What is clown in British theatre?
Wow.
Big question.
It's a big question. I mean, I'm just going to go.
Yes.
As there is always a big controversy, as Peta was saying, this thing of, what is clown? And, probably we are 4 people here and probably we have our own private definition of what clown is. And basically because it works for us. And that's what it is, the most important thing. But in being a foreigner in England for many years and enjoying very much the theatre in England, very, very much. One of the reasons why I like it is because I can see clown all over, or what for me will be clown. It's very present if I compare it with the kind of theatre that I will see in Spain. Now, what will it be one of the characteristics that I will say that means that I see clown in English theatre is that there is a taste for sense of humor, and even in the most dramatic situations, there is that desire of get a laugh for the audience. I go to see plays in Spain. There are very good Spanish companies, don't misunderstand me, but in general, and no one wants to make me laugh. And few people want to make me laugh, but in England, my experience, and I'm sure everybody has different opinions, but my experience is that, and it's one of the reasons why I practice my work in England, is because people love sense of humor. So the theater loves sense of humor. You can go to see Othello and Iago makes jokes with the audience, and you can go to see, I don't know, the most straight, serious play, and there is an actor who the director has decided, here we're going to get a laugh. And for me, that's what I will think. That's why I think British theatre has lots of clown. But it's all relative, of course. But that's just to. I put it up there just for you guys to say things.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to add to that?
I guess as well. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, are we talking about when we say theatre? Are we talking about something? Are we talking about anything that's in front of an audience and would include, I don't know, like modern circus, or are we talking about something scripted, highbrow? I mean, obviously the influence is probably stronger in different areas of theatre.
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there.
But you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I guess for me to state what theatre would be is I see it very broadly. So some people would classify some forms of dance as not theatre, but I would say all forms of dance are theatre. And likewise, people might say stand-up comedy is not theatre. Well, it's still someone presenting themselves to an audience, and most of the time that is through some sort of character, even if it's very close to who they are naturally. So for me, I would say very broadly, just to help you maybe go forward if you wish to.
Well, yeah. From that perspective, if we're talking about comedy and the influence of clowning in comedy in Britain at the moment, particularly, I think it's very, very strong. The comedy scene obviously is quite a big. I mean, I came to clowning through the comedy scene, doing stand-up originally, and then finding out about clowning through that. So. Obviously, yeah, Britain has a very big tradition in comedy and making people laugh, and clowning is a big part of that. And yeah, I'm just putting that out there.
Thank you. Peter, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Number one, it's a very daunting question because, and Dan's probably in a really good, having run a clown festival, in a good position to answer it. But just to come at it maybe from a bit of a meta level is, I love the way clown practitioners have the right to reinvent styles of theatre, and one day I would love to see a big Venn diagram, also because I teach commedia as well as clown. You go, so certain qualities are shared. There's stand-up someone like Richard Pryor, definitely a stand-up that had so much sort of mimetic clown-like quality, and cabaret is part of the picture as well, isn't it? There's a lot of cabaret performance at the moment. So I think that's really interesting. And I love the way, ever since I arrived in this country, where it was very much the inheritance of naturalism, and it just blossomed and blossomed and blossomed. And the London International Mime Festival, I think, has done a lot of that, enlivening the scene. And in the olden days, when people got funding, so that people like Matthew Bourne, who now directs in the West End, I saw him a piece in the back room at the Battersea Arts Centre decades ago, and it's just wonderful to see how these mainstream physical skills have come and reinvigorated theatre, so that the humour is really well done and robust. If anyone can see the Midsummer Night's Dream that's on at the moment, that was on at the Bridge, it's online. It's, you might not say clowning, but really some beautiful moments in it.
Thank you. Just to pass over, just in case, Vivian, if you wanted to comment.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that physical theatre, and it's very closely associated with clowning from the Jacques Lecoq. And I remember being in London and seeing Dario Fo's play, and these so much by Commedia, and I'm sure that these plays have massive influence and were very, very funny and political too. And of course, Lecoq and Dario Fo, they split over that. I mean, they split over this political issue. Here's a thought. I just want to share that. When the Globe Theatre was built, and I see violence in plays, and it was amazing to discover that plays that I thought were tragedies suddenly were turned, because of the architecture of the stage, it revealed certain comic aspects of the play in wonderful ways. Of course, Mike Rylance did it in such a beautiful way. I remember him playing Cleopatra, and there was a double sort of edge to all the way that he was playing, and I just loved it. So here's my thought: is that how much this is a relationship that the actors have with the audience, and of course, in the very architecture of the globe, you can't help but you have to look to the audience. They're standing around you, and so I feel that there's a very important dimension of clowning that comes through this connection.
That's
so that's my contribution.
It's just sorry for butting in, but just when I don't know if you can read that, but it says the Globe, Mark Rylance, before you started to speak, so it was in the ether, and I just want to. I resonate really strongly with that, Vivian. And I remember feeling the first time I stood in the Groundlings at the Globe, and it was Cymbeline, Mike Alfred's production of Cymbeline, and they looked up and they said something about the North Star or Saturn or something. They mentioned a star. And at that moment, when you looked up, you realized, oh yeah, that it's just gotten dark now so that we can see the star. It was almost like it was written into the script, this outdoor nature. And the fact that it was Mark Rylance coming and doing this speech about whether or not he was going to kill himself and consulting the audience, something that up until then was the sort of something you said in RP, in a soliloquy looking terribly meaningful alone. But these were shared experiences. And I think you're absolutely right that probably really helped break down the fourth wall.
Thank you very much. And I'm very happy that you can hear Vivian, because I really cannot.
Yes, just to say, Vivian, if you, I think when you sit in one position, it's clearer.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
On the edge of my screen. So.
Anyway.
Let's see how that works. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So that's great, because I think this easily leads into what I want to ask, and which is kind of the crux of my interest here, and that is, has clown become more common in British theatre in recent years? We've kind of alluded to that it has, but what are people's opinions?
Well, it's going to be me all the time starting, no? Okay.
Yeah. Your name begins with A.
Yeah. And also, let's read through the one that no one understands what he's talking about. Now, I think, yes, of course it has. I mean, what can I say? I moved to London in 1994 to study with Philippe Gaulier, and I saw, well, I didn't see that, I'm sure, those beautiful shows at the Globe, but I saw Theatre de Complicité, Street of Crocodiles, and all those shows, and they were mind-blowing. And if you have had an education, a theatre education that was a little bit old-fashioned, and you were young, you wanted to find freedom, and that looked like freedom. So I don't know, as a young actor, it was, I want to do that. And then I went to play. No, and so yes, a clown is very, very, very present, influenced there, thanks to all these amazing performers who did the journey to Paris and came back, many of them, and the influences of Jacques Lecoq and the Globe and all these situations. And I imagine that perhaps street theatre also will affect it, and also the circus seems to have it used to have like a big tradition in England, and when I arrived to England, it didn't seem like it, and now it has like a much more research no, that's not the right word, but you know, reborn, and that probably has affected and it's that spirit of the clown that Peter was talking about, of reinvent everything, I think is very much in bed in British theatre in general, and I think personally, with what Dan was talking about, it goes all the way from the show in the pub to the National Theatre, the Bridge Theatre, and or even the West End, which is the commercial. But that's my. I mean, I love going to see shows in England precisely because I always, this is so brilliant, or this is so bad, but at least it's such an amazing try. You know, it didn't work, but you know, how many shows have we done that didn't work? I mean, trillions. It's part of our everyday life.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it has definitely become more popular, but I think a lot of it comes down to like what Vivian was saying about the relationship with the audience and breaking down the fourth wall. I think theatre's most exciting, and what theatre has to offer that television can't do, what film can't do, is that they have a relationship with the audience at that moment in time, and they can respond to that, and it's real, and it's in the moment, and that's such an important part of clowning, and an integral part. And I think that there's also been a big boom in like immersive theatre has become quite big now, and I think that's the same thing. It's that acknowledging the audience, being with the audience, responding to the audience. So I think that's one of the things that really why it appeals, why it's exciting, why it's vibrant. Unfortunately, in the Corona world, there's no place for it. But hopefully we'll be back.
We shall overcome.
We shall overcome. Yeah. But. Yeah, so I think that for me, I mean, like I think watching theatre, I mean, because obviously we've all seen bad theatre, or you know, but then seeing something where people really respond to the audience, they're really in the moment, and the excitement that creates, because it's real, alive, is very special, and yeah, an integral part of why it is important and still and gains momentum.
Yeah.
Okay. Peter, you say, look like you wish to add something.
Yes, it's when I think about it, I think about the appetite for people to learn clown. But I don't know where that has come from, but it's an appetite that I used to offer courses in physical theatre and this and that and the other, and then I started noticing that the courses that would fill up most reliably were the clown courses that I was leading. So I was going, well, let's see now, you know, I get to laugh a lot. I get to shout at people a little bit. You know, we all share together. I get to see people doing stupid, ridiculous things. Okay, I'll do more of this, and kept waiting for the bubble to burst, sort of. And it's remarkable. And I don't know, I feel like getting all either spiritual or psychological and going, is it that a lot of people love the sort of altered reality of being in clown state, that we're so constrained by, you know, I used to go to pret-a-manger as much as the next person, but so constrained by these capitalist constructs, the consumerist constructs in the cities anyway, and to have this way of getting together and playing and making connections. I don't know if anyone has something a bit more intelligent to say about that, but something in the human psyche that
Vivian, you've been running your classes. Have you seen anything similar in recent years?
Yeah, no, it's I find there is something so liberating about basically there's something very subversive about clowning, because you learn, of course, about improvisation and how to create characters, things like that. But there's also an aspect of when you break everything down, and there's something very joyful about freedom. There's a sense of freedom that comes from learning clowning, which you can also learn, with improv. But it just there's this extra dimension in clowning that just there's an extra sort of freedom that comes from not just always staying necessarily with the same character, or and again, it's an amazing journey, and like Aitor going to see the Complicité in the 80s, it was just the inspiration of seeing these plays. I'm just wondering about another aspect of clowning, which maybe relates more to well, my interest in theatre of absurd, with Tom Stoppard, for example, and I don't know. I'm just sort of thinking aloud here, trying to link this conversation with theatre or British theatre, and yeah. So I'm just I'm just leaving that open as a possible link here. Yeah.
I couldn't hear very well.
Me neither.
You mean the Stoppard and the clown?
You can hear me?
Yes. But not. I couldn't hear very well what you were saying, Vivian. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was talking about.
Go, Vivian.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about Tom Stoppard, just leaving that as a reference in British theatre, and knowing how much I loved theatre of the absurd, and so that was a connection here. Which might be interesting to explore. I don't know what Nathan thinks, but
thank you.
Let's leave with that. Is there any response to what Vivian's remarked on?
Yeah, I just don't know very well Thomas Stoppard. I have to say, sorry, but I imagine, I think he did that show, The Party, no? Thomas Stoppard is The Party?
No, that's Mike Lee. Is it?
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, but it seems it does kind of have that kind of transgression that probably the clown has too now. I mean, it's all become a little bit complicated with this because the terminology, the clown, but I think for me, it's also that beautiful imagination and freedom and pleasure with that people. I think good theater has lots of clowning. So for me, and of course you can do clown without theater, but clowns live in the theater. So the things that start to is words, and I think British theater for sure. I mean, I remember I am from Spain, so Lope de Vega for me now Shakespeare, but Shakespeare had amazing clowns in his shows. Pack, all these things is bloody amazing. I mean, we are reading Now As You Like It, and Touchstone is so boring, but it's so boring that it's kind of funny how boring it is. So there is I think clown is there all the time to a certain extent, and I think also just for the sake of a conversation, it's interesting how how what the audience wants. Now suddenly the audience now wants to be looked at. Now the audience wants the fourth world. I wasn't alive in the 1920s, but I imagine that if you look at the audience in the 1920s, that was such a lack of respect. That's why probably the vaudeville and the music hall existed, or the circus, because theater was something different. Theater was like a high art. I'm just wondering, because I don't know. I'm just reading at the moment the autobiography of Stefan Zweig, and he talks about going to the theater in Vienna as an action of high art. But he doesn't talk about the Yiddish cabarets or anything like that. He talks about the high art of. But I'm just riffing now, so I shut up.
It was a lovely riff. Nathan, can I add a little? Yeah, I think that is very astute. That the backbone here in Britain, if we're talking theatre, Shakespeare, that clowns have always been embedded in that. And to add to that, Brecht, who is studied a lot, obviously not British, but studied a lot and performed a lot here. And he admired vaudeville performers and clown performers. And I was just having a personal connection again, not a British practitioner, but someone known here, Peter Handke, who apparently is a bit of a problematic figure, I've just found out. But anyway, I saw his Caspar, which was based on the true story of Caspar Hauser, who was like this person who was kept remotely and had one sentence that they could speak. And it's an amazing, absurd play where Caspar is dressed like a clown. And I saw it in Australia, in Brisbane, and it was a phenomenal performance because it has this almost unmemorizable text. I don't know how he did it. The text is all deconstructed. And it's Trevor, then Smith, now Stewart, who was a key member of Lumiere and Son, the amazing seminal Lumiere and Son theatre company. And yes, Stewart's still doing crazy things, lots of sort of walkabout. I think he's gone back to Australia, but yeah, those experiences of absurd theatre coming through the 60s and via Brecht, making those kind of links, opening to clown.
Thank you. So I'm thinking of the change that's that we have spoken of, although it's very present from what we're talking about. It's fundamentally been there and has to have been there in theatre in general, and as well as all these other. If we go to the loose ends of what we may define as theatre as well. So in this change that we've spoken about, what is it that we believe is the impetus for people wanting to do more clowning in your workshops, or what is it that is bringing out more of a need for the clown in performance? What is this need that may be there, Peter?
Is it because things are dark? I'm just joining in with what Aitor was talking about, in the 20s, the 19th century, the 20th century, before World War, there was sort of idealism, and then there was one World War, God, Second World War, all this trauma, and then increasingly immediate awareness of all the trauma. Especially with, since the internet and social media, and people need to respond to the world is ridiculous. It is absurd. There's still a place for drama and always will be, but that way of going, oh, this is a serious issue, and human values and everything like that. And the clown kind of goes, what is everything? What's the meaning of life? Rebellion, bringing back innocence. There's 1,000 different ways you can respond. That's just a little theory. What do you reckon, Aitor?
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
I wish I would know, but what I know is why I like clown very much. That I know, because it moves me deeply. You know, it not just makes me laugh. It's something that Dan was saying before. Is it creates a clear memory. You know, I have a connection. The moment I live today, I know is unique, and I'm going to remember for the rest of my life because someone looked at me from up there, made me laugh, and made me live an amazing time, a really amazing, alive time. Is a life experience. The only thing missing was that person did not physically touch me, and sometimes they even do that. Now, when we do clown workshops, why people come there are many reasons. It will be really nice to think that everybody is looking to be a better human and to be able to laugh at themselves and to believe that everybody has a wonderful critical spirit of themselves and believe that human is the best creation in the universe, and they want to be generous and innocent and laugh for no reason. But I don't think that's the truth. That's not what people want, I don't think. I'm a little bit pessimistic at this point. But I have a wonderful time when I teach a clown workshop or when I run a clown workshop. Probably I am the person who laughs the most because I'm laughing all the time. I think everybody can be really funny and everybody, to go a little bit over the top, everybody has a clown inside themselves. The problem is how to let that clown be out there. That's our biggest problem, always. For me, I've been doing this shit for many years and it still is a problem. It's a problem. Ooh, I don't know if I want them to laugh at me now. Because, but you see, so it's now, does people want that? I am not sure. I mean, certainly we do want that. And I want it. I want to keep feeling that trepidation when I have a wonderful connection with the audience. And I think, oh my God, I had so much fun today. If they had as much fun as I did, is as good as sex. Well, now I can't say that anymore because sex is not so good anymore. But it's very good. It's very good fun. And I think the reasons why people do what we do now, maybe they are not those ones, but they are my reasons. And if there are many people like that, then we are in a lucky thing. Because I think, of course, the laughter element of the clown is always very controversial in the world of clowning. But I think the search for that laugh creates amazing moments around for the clown. Moments of emotion, of sadness, of beauty, of tragedy, of anger, of everything. And it's just so human. It's just so human. We just empathize. Well, I empathize immediately when I see a good clown performance. And that's why I think I would like to think that is the reason why people can search for the clown workshop that speaks to them, truly speaks to them. Like I have. I study with lots of clown teachers, and some of them spoke to me. I could hear them better than others. But at the end, I listened to a kind of monster clown teacher who speaks to me that is a Frankenstein of all the teachers that I had and all the directors and all my friends who have worked with me. and I listen to them when I play or when you know what I'm saying? So
amazing, yes. Someone
Yeah.
Sorry?
I love the idea of the Frankenstein teacher. Yeah, I think there's a couple. I think because people like this, like we're all connecting through on a screen. I think people are more often than not are connecting using texting or on. You know, they're starved of that human connection. I think that something happens in a clown workshop, and certainly when you're brave enough or you're open enough to let people laugh at you is a cathartic experience, I think, because you let go of all of that sense of having to be something, pretend to be something, and that's incredibly cathartic experience. And that, I mean,
Liberating.
And to see people do that, because it's not just you being on out there doing it; it's the whole group experiences it together. And there's that. So I think people. Yeah, I think probably they want the connection. They like the connection. There's less of that maybe now because of screens and computers. Because I mean, also everyone wants to be growing up, you want to be an actor or whatever, and you the idea is you're going to be in a movie. Everything's fourth wall. Everything's just an image. Everything's very. The magic that happens when somebody's performing a clown routine and just something otherworldly or something happens in the room and our imaginations explode and it's magical, and that is something that probably I mean I don't know I can't think of many places where that happens. And that's why it's very hard to explain to somebody who hasn't done a clown workshop what it is, because if I said that to somebody who's never done a clown workshop, they'd be like, what? It sounds like a cult. But yeah, anyway.
A cult of taking drugs, no?
Vivian, is there do these themes, do these topics that are coming out of what's been said, do they connect to the people that you teach? And I guess what's also interesting here is the historic part is have you seen any changes in what's been said over the years?
Changes in what? In people or?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I got your question.
I asked two questions in one. I shouldn't have. So the first part is what has been said. Does that ring true for your world of clown?
Yeah, definitely, and I enjoyed Aitor's reflection on it's we're also fascinated by this work and completely in love with it, and it's very addictive. And I'm just wondering where it comes from. And I have stage, I think it's like it gives a space which you can express. Basically, your subversiveness comes from finding a connection to your own truth and being able to have the courage to say it. And the joy that you have when you're learning comes from trying how you should be funny, because that never works. But finding your own truth and the liberation of that. And so there's a famous story of cocktails about clowning. He put a nose on one of the students after they had trained for 2 years, and he said, "Make us laugh." And the student just tried everything he'd learned, and nothing worked. As after about 15 minutes, he gave up and just sat down and looked miserable, and everybody started laughing. It's a very famous story, but it's from that he deduced a lot of things about libido, the failure, and the vulnerability and authenticity, and all of those things. That's the joy of the work, really.
Thank you. I guess if there's any further comments between us, I think we should do that, and then maybe I can ask people to message in some questions, and I can ask those as well, if that's okay. Is there any further comments?
I just want to say one thing that I think is very interesting because I study philosophy in the university. I like to read lots of books about clowning and laughter and to find the reasons why. But as much as I agree with Vivian and Peta and Dan, and it's all true. So what we say about the clown, for me, it's all true because that's the way you speak about it. But I think what is very important, what is very interesting if you are a performer, is to try the clown, to stand up and look for it, to play the game of the clown. These words that we have, I love them. It's very interesting, and if I will be drinking wine now, I would like them even more because it's a wonderful conversation. Because you end up talking about life, and you talk about your life, no, and the thing that you love the most. But it's so much fun to stand up there and suddenly realize that people are having a wonderful time with you, with who you are. It's so brilliant and scary and exciting and moving. When it works, it's brilliant. So whenever we come to this, say, come on, let's do it. Let's stand up and do it. Because the words, and you please contradict me, the words don't describe it. We need new words. We need, I don't know, I remember once someone started to talk about quantum physics, just to try to describe what this means. So it's really brilliant, for me, it's my life is what we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any further comments? I'll just check in.
One last thing, just a little, if that's okay.
So, yeah.
Is it me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You can talk better.
Thank you, Vivian. No, just the little thought that how it's sustained itself, how clowning has got this muscular presence in the world, apart from all the other things that people have observed. One of the memories that I have is that every time you were at a clown class, you go, there's often people from all nations. Or physical theatre. When I was studying mime, there were people from Europe, so that I think that's something that there's this huge cross fertilization, that a spirit that is not dependent on a single culture, that isn't so totally not so tightly dependent on text, although you can use text and words, but it's a theatre of the clown work it's the imagination and the body, the imagination, the space between the performers, that human experience. So this internationality, and I'm thinking about Dan having worked with Clowns Without Borders. I've been in the happy position of teaching Clowns Without Borders in Germany and teaching some of the clown doctors, and oh my God, what they bring to humanity is really quite something, quite beautiful.
Thank you. Just checking in with potential questions, and nothing necessarily. So I guess if we come to a well-formed conclusion about this question, we can we can say well done. Essentially, we've done it.
The conclusion is Aitor's comment that we can't talk about it. There's no words to express it. So,
Sorry about that.
no, it's true though. It's so true. It's a perfect ending. Hard to follow.
So yeah, thank you all very much for trying to talk about it. Yeah, if you wish to oh, we might have a last minute question coming in. We might as well be sidetracked by a question. It's just polite, I think. Have you any advice for advertising a clownesque show to an audience who may not be savvy with the contemporary clown?
Okay, that's why we set up the London Clown Festival. There was that issue, was that a lot of people who do clown shows don't advertise them as clowns, don't mention clowning in their descriptions because they feel like it's got a negative. The audience, people are put off by that because they consider it to be a children's show or circus clown or something, red nose or whatever. So the reason why we put the London Clown Festival together was to bring all these shows together so that people they knew that all these shows were connected by their clowning, but you wouldn't know that unless you kind of knew more about what they do. So it is a problem, and it's a problem I have promoting my own shows. And I do you put clown? It's a constant. Do I put clown or not in this description? I mean, and I think I don't have a solution. But as clown gets bigger and more people get into it and more people know about it, then hopefully less and less that will be an issue, and there'll be a big enough audience. You proudly say clowning, but you feel like you might be cutting off some people who might not come and see your show who would enjoy it because they've got an idea of what clown is, and it's mistaken, you know. So
yeah,
difficult one.
It's also it's also in the nature now of there is not like a universal definition of what clown is. So among the practitioners, there are always big discussions of that's clown, that's not clown, and that also is not help. It doesn't help, I think, and I believe you might know this better, Vivian, but I think in France it has a better reputation. The word clown, than in because in Spain, in Spanish, the word clown is an insult. We use it payaso. It's an insult.
And in the UK,
Is it? Yeah, of course, it's true.
Yeah,
Boris is a clown.
Used for politicians. Boris Johnson's a clown. Trump. Always negative.
It's. I don't know if people know this, but it was so the negative associations with clown. The clown doctors, the Theodora clown doctors in UK, had to rebrand themselves as giggle doctors. Because the children were afraid of clowns, the scary clown syndrome, and because people hated clowns. And the problem is much less in Europe, because I would go and work with them in Europe too. So a kind of skin resistance in the culture.
Yeah, and I think that was a mistake. I think names, terms change. You can reclaim it. That's why we discussed that with the London Clown Festival. Do we call it the London Clown Festival? I got to a point where it was just like, let's just be proud of the word clown and try and reclaim it, because how else? We can't, if we're all pretending we're not clowns or it's not clown influence, then when somebody comes into it, they don't know how these things connect. They can't find the connections. And we're all kind of losing, So I think it's really important to reclaim the word.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I mean, I think there is a lot of people, of course, there are different people who saying what clown.
Absolutely.
But there are some fundamentals that I think that most of them can agree on that make
it's true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I was going to ask a question to Peta, actually, because you called a dark clown, and I've been very interested in of course, the relationship between humor and tragedy. And of course, there's one definition that says comedy is tragedy plus time. But there are things that you can laugh with, but if they're too close to you, it's very difficult to laugh. I need that distance from the subject, and that's also part of clowning, is this ability to distance yourself from because if you're too isolated, it's very difficult to play with. But I love this relationship between the dark and the light, and I think clowning is the courage to face the dark and the ability to play. So I love that confrontation in a way, because it's very scary when you have to deal with real issues, things that actually are you're just wondering what you meant to it, and you can't just do anything. You have to be able to be both respectful, there's a sacred space, but there's also a light. The lightness comes too soon. It just feels like flippant. And so I love that relationship between the dark and the light. Anyway.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, once more, I'll check if there's any more questions, but I think we are fine. Yeah, so if there's anything you wish to say that's about upcoming events you may have that you wish to just pop on the end of here, please go ahead. Essentially, feel welcome to call out whatever.
Upcoming events.
Yes. If you wish to.
No event. Zero.
I wish.
Yes.
A back-coming event was watching Spy Monkey. Were putting up you were putting up your previous shows, and I saw Stiff again.
Oh yeah.
Online. And talking about, because Vivian was just talking about laughing at the dark, and
oh yes,
quite a long section in the frickin' coffin. Just a long section, playing with body parts, talk about not philosophy, but archaeology,
yes.
Is Osiris, the Egyptian god, and all the hands, the dismemberment, all of that.
Yeah.
Really, really wonderful. And just to also say, while I'm on Spy Monkey, that Cooped was talking about laughter, Aitor. I have never laughed so extremely as I did at that show.
Yeah,
the person I was with was just completely embarrassed by me. And I said, "What's wrong with you?" I can't help it.
Thank you. It's a funny show. Thanks.
Beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is it still on? I think.
Is it still on? Yeah. So watch that. And if anyone is interested, I didn't talk about the dark clown work, but I've got a blog on my website, and you can read about it on there.
Nice.
The forthcoming event is the book when I write it, so I'm kind of writing it in bits and pieces on the blog. So get in there while you can. And will there be a clown festival next year, Dan? What time of year is it?
Well, it was happening in June, but obviously, and then it was going to happen in September, and now I've no idea.
Well, when it does, it'll be great. Yeah.
Right. Last moment before we say goodbye. If there's any quick plugs, just say it before I switch us off.
No, thank you. And nice to meet you, everybody. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, lovely to talk with you all. Thank you very much, Nathan, for making it happen.
That's all right. Thank you all for doing this. It's been wonderful. Thank you, and say
you,
goodbye
Nathan.
to people watching. Bye, people watching.
Bye.
Hi, people watching.